Welcome to another episode of Ask Dubey. As always, this episode is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use the code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Well, as you can see, I am back in Secaucus, New Jersey in my beautiful hotel room doing NHL Network for this week. So we're going to do Ask Dubey from here. And I was fortunate to get to see a little bit of the Connor McDavid magic last night, which has been Connor McDavid magic for 16 games now. Yes, I believe that's right. 16-game point streak from Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl has been pretty good too. The numbers against Nashville are absolutely outrageous. I can't even read them right now because I think they'd be wrong after they each got however many points last night. But fun to watch. Again, I think everyone takes for granted what we get to watch every single night with Connor and Leon. Leon doesn't even get talked about enough, but the things that we see from Connor McDavid, and Oilers fans, just go to as many games as you can. Watch him as much as you can, because no one else gets that. No one else gets to do that every 41 times a year at home, plus playoffs. The goals that we see, I feel like every time I'm here, I mentioned last night that I look up and the Oilers are playing, and I feel like they're playing some sort of previous highlight of one of his outrageous goals, and no, it's a new one. He's a lot of fun to watch. Penalty shot, but still an unbelievable move in the penalty shot. Just tons of fun, and big win for the Oilers too, after dropping a couple in a row. So that was an exciting game. And if you looked at the numbers before that game, Connor and Leon against Nashville, I believe they're 2.5 points a game or something, or maybe more against Nashville, and they certainly continued that. So big one for the Oilers, and we had lots of good questions this week. So with that, let's get to them. Okay, first question comes from Dapper Don Darcy. Hopefully I said that right. Looking back on your career, what moment truly changed how you approach the mental side of goaltending, and how did that shift show up in your game afterwards? Great question. Lots of great questions this week, actually, but that's a good one. Hard to answer. I wouldn't say there's one point. There's definitely mental changes and shifts throughout my entire career. I had a mental shift going from backing up to starting goalie in Edmonton, and then had my difficult year there. And I think if I could pinpoint a couple, one was when I had my year when I got traded from Edmonton, Nashville, Montreal fell off a cliff. And then I got my 1-year contract in Arizona, and I kind of hit the reset button, and mentally I kind of accepted that there was a chance that I had missed my window to be a starting goaltender in the NHL, just purely based on age, what had happened. Opportunities wasn't there. I was going in behind Mike Smith. And so I kind of just decided I was going to approach it and be grateful to be in the NHL in whatever capacity that was. If I was backup goalie, I was going to go be a backup goalie, enjoy my time there. I got to see what it was like in Hamilton in the American League the year before, and didn't want to be doing that. And so just to enjoy my time and do everything I could to have as long of a career as I could. And if that was being a backup, that was being a backup. So I just kind of took some pressure off that way, and wanted to just go have fun playing hockey again, go enjoy how lucky I was to be in the NHL and enjoy that part of it. And I tried to take that with me when I went to Minnesota. Same thing. I just tried to keep that same mindset when I got traded to Minnesota of it was kind of just like bonus time for me. So I didn't have any expectations. I didn't start thinking about next contract. I just tried to keep that same mentality of being grateful, being excited for every single time I got to play 60 minutes. And that started happening more and more, obviously, when I got to Minnesota. And that it made it a lot of fun. It took the pressure off. It made it a lot of fun, and exciting every single chance I got to play. And then the next shift, I think, mentally was going to Minnesota. It was the first time I really learned, what it was like to expect to win. My whole career before that, everybody knows what we were like in Edmonton, and you're kind of playing survival mode a little bit. You go out there, you're trying to, have a good save percentage, have good stats, not really expecting to win. Some nights you might lose, sometimes you might get throttled, and you just didn't really know which night that was going to be. And so the approach was different, where you'd go out there and you're wanting to play well. You're thinking about playing well, but it's a different thought process. And when I got to Minnesota and you start winning games, and this feeling of in the morning of the game and leading into the game of expecting to win. Every single time we dropped the puck, I expected to win. I expected us to win. And then it was kind of a different approach where it changes how you feel about things that happen in a game. If you get scored on, if it's a bad goal, if you get a couple in a row, whatever it is, any circumstances that happen in a game, it affects you differently because you expect to win. So it doesn't matter if you let in the first shot or if a bad one gets in, you still expect to win. So it doesn't change how you feel or what you think about what's going on, because at the end of the game, I'm expecting to be on the winning side. And that obviously started to happen more and more and more. So you just learn to, those things don't affect you as much as they would in the past. And you're able to just kind of throw it and finish a game and be able to get through these tough, or if you have a bad game, same thing, you approach the next one expecting to win. So those are two big things. And right kind of in the middle of my career there, that started everything back on the right direction. And those are, if I had to pick a couple, those would be them. All right. Our next question comes from James Woods. Is he available to start tonight? LOL. I'll answer that one quick with a hard no. I've watched these games and this offense and the way these guys play now. I'm not available to start tonight. My hips, back, knees would not allow it. Neither would my head and mental capacity of watching these guys snap the puck around. So no, I'm not available to start tonight, or I guess that's probably for tomorrow. But actually, my question is, how does he feel his game changed after he left Edmonton? Did he get more opportunities to start, or was it that coaching in Arizona and Minnesota made things easier for him to show what he could really do? That's a good question. I touched a little bit on the previous question about the mental side of it. I think that there was a lot of change to my game. And that started combination of things. The summer before I went to Arizona, I learned a little bit about head tracking. I've talked about head tracking before. I'm very passionate about it. Learned a very, very little amount of it from Steve Valiquette going up to a camp in Vail. And it was a very interesting concept. He kind of taught me as much as he could in a short period of time. And even he said he was just learning it, but he was really fascinated by it. And so we started to work on little things, and it's just head positioning. It got me lower, wider, and that kind of happened naturally. That wasn't part of what he was trying to teach me. He's just showing me how to look at the puck and how to go down. And it really just scratching the surface on what I've learned on it over the last 10 years. But that kind of started it, and it really made my stance a lot more aggressive. If you watch my games in Minnesota versus my games in Edmonton, it's like two different goaltenders. And that's just how I evolved playing. That was a combination as well of what happened with Sean Burke. But I've had my kids watch clips of me playing in Edmonton, and my oldest son said, "Dad, that's not you." And I was like, first of all, relax. Okay, it was still the NHL. And second of all, yes, that is me. But I did look like a completely different goalie. And so the more aggressive stance happened naturally, and then combined with working with Sean Burke. And what Burkey did for me on the ice-wise, when it came to technical side of it, is he got me my feet set. And he got me pushing and stopping on my feet with my feet set. And what we worked on was where I could be in my net depth-wise. And so Berkey never told me that I had to play on my goal line like Mike Smith did. Mike Smith could do that because he had some of the best hands I've ever seen. So he could stand on his goal line and snatch pucks out of the air better than anybody. I didn't have as good a hands as Mike Smith, and that wasn't how I was comfortable playing. So I needed to be a little bit further out. But it didn't matter where that was. It was just that I had to beat a pass on my feet. So whatever play happened in front of me, I had to go from point A to point B on my feet and be stopped and set by the time the puck got there and by the time the next play was happening. And so that changed my depth depending on the play. If it wasn't as close or a threat, I could be a little bit further out. If things got closer, it certainly brought me back into my net a little bit because I needed to beat that play on my feet and not have all this forward backward flow. And that really became foundation of my game, was working off of my feet, getting from A to B, getting stopped, being set. And just being in a major structure like that. And that really changed everything for me. I had a lot more flow in my game, a lot more sliding, some sloppy skating with my hips, and the stops and starts. And we just hammered on it every day, easy drills, 1 pass, 2 pass maybe. And it was just push, stop, set, push, stop, set. And it became something that I really went back to a lot if I felt like my game was slipping a little bit, of get set, work on your feet and be set, work on your feet and be set. And I'd kind of always go back to that. And that really, really changed the way that I played after that for the rest of my career, and set me up to play as many games I did and to be as consistent as I was that working on my feet. And now I'm trying to pass that down to my boys and others that I work with through Dubnyk Development. It's we work a lot better on our feet. It's one less movement to get your edge. You're already on your edges, and things go well from there. So that was one of the many things, but probably the most important change for me when it came to the technical side of it. Okay, next question coming from RCMST13. I don't know how else to say that. How to deal with anxiety, ? Parent of a 13-year-old goalie who gets physically ill before games. I like this question because it is interesting to help kids deal with this kind of thing. And, we talk about, we work on all the on-ice stuff and the pushes and the stops and all of these things. But this is obviously a very important part of hockey, and learning how to deal with this stuff, and not just thinking that because they're 13 years old that they'll be okay. It's just youth hockey. It's not. And this is their Stanley Cup. When you're 13 years old, all these games that you're playing are the most important thing to you. And so you can't downplay it whatsoever just because it's not the highest level. It is to them. And so when it comes to anxiety, what I try to tell my goalies is that as soon as you start feeling nervous, the more simple we can make things. The more we can simplify, the better. And that's just thinking I would take 3 things that I knew I had to do on the ice in order to be successful. And sometimes those change a little bit, but for the most part, it was mostly what I was talking about before. Get your feet set, find the puck. So that would be making sure I'm not allowing myself to get screened. So work to find the puck, push on your feet, set on your feet, and don't go down early or whatever. I picked 3 things that I really, and I knew if I went out there and did those, that I was going to play well or set myself up to play well. And at the end of the day, if it was Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final or the first game of preseason, the game's played the same way. And I have to do those same things in order to be successful, regardless of how important the game is. Doesn't matter how important the game is, it's still played the same way by me. And so if I could really narrow my focus on that stuff and stop thinking about the importance of the game or how many people were there, or how many people were watching, or if we needed to win to make playoffs, all these things that matter but aren't going to help you perform, you try to just focus on these little things and just keep reminding yourself over and over, if I do this, I'll play well, or I'll set myself up to play well if I do this. And then if you really focus on that, it helps you forget about things that you can't control, or at least drown them out a little bit. And another thing that I like to do, and this might not work for everybody, but is think about, if I started feeling myself get a little bit nervous, is think about what's the worst thing that can happen. And when you play as long as I did and as many games I did in different leagues, there were a lot of real bad things that could happen. And I would always try to go back to the worst one. I probably the worst one I remember was in Springfield in the American League. We were in Hartford, and Deloria got called up. So it was my opportunity to start some games and to get some games in. And we were in Hartford, and I was playing fine. It was 2-1. They got 5-on-3. They got 2 power play goals. It was 4-1. And Kelly Buckberg was a coach, and he pulled me out of there. And I was really mad at him for pulling me because I felt like I was playing fine, and this was an opportunity for me to start games. So I left the ice, and by the time it's the American League, so it's weird. I had to go off in the corner, almost like San Jose. So I wasn't even on the bench. By the time I'd broken my stick out of frustration and went to get a new one and walked back, they'd scored 3 more goals. And so now it was 7-1, and then I had to go back in there. Bucky's waving at me in the corner that he wants me to go back in the net, so I'd missed 5 minutes or something. Anyway, end of the game, we ended up losing 10-1, and super disappointed. I was embarrassed and all these things, and next day, wake up, I ended up winning the next game. Anyway, what I'm getting at is I draw back on that moment, and I think, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm going to let in 10 goals, get pulled, lose the game. Things are horrible. What's going to happen tomorrow? Tomorrow, the sun's going to come up. I still have my family. I still have my friends. I'm still in the NHL or the AH or whatever. I'm still going to go to the rink, put my gear on, go to practice. I didn't forget how to stop the puck. And everything will be okay. Nobody's going to dislike me. I'm not going to lose anybody important to me. And so I would run that back if I started to get nervous. Just whatever, if it was the night before, I just think about this. What is the worst thing that's going to happen? And you realize it's not that bad. And all of the things that are truly important in your life are still going to be there. And that kind of allowed me to just forget about it and not worry about this what if situation. What if this happens? Well, if it happens, everything's still going to be okay. Yeah, it'll be sad. Yeah, it'll be disappointing. Yeah, it'll be embarrassing, but it will be okay. So try those things for them, and hopefully you can have a little more fun with playing hockey. All right, that wraps up another episode of Ask Dubey. Thank you guys for all the questions. They were awesome this week. There was a lot more, actually, that we're going to bank. We'll always get to all of them, but love all the questions coming in. That was a fun episode, so please keep them up. Hashtag Ask Dubey on any social media platform and Oilers Nation. And if not, drop them in the comment section below. Please keep them coming. These episodes are great. This episode, as always, is brought to you by our friends at Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Only the finest tasting meat products earn the Wilhauk name. Made from 100% pure Alberta beef, Wilhauk Beef Jerky is aged, seasoned, marinated, and smoked to savory perfection. It's so good. Wilhauk Beef Jerky gladly fills orders of any size. Find their beef jerky, sausage, and other products exclusively out of their Leduc location, or you can order online. Get your jerky on. For more info, go to wilhaukbeefjerky.com.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.